by the hand of the Creator. Creation, what is it? How did it start? Did it start with a big bang like they said? Well, I don't think so. And that's the journey we're going to take. So let's open our minds and try to find out what creation is and how it starts. I'm going to try and walk us through science, chemistry, and physics and dig deep into the heart of creation and find the real source of life and get a full and clearer explanation and understanding of creation and how it all started. But first, we must put aside that Big Bang theory and the crazy panspermia theory, because those theories doesn't work for us anymore. But that's what mainstream scientists and physicists want you to believe, that all life started with a Big Bang, or meteorites falling to Earth, and that started life. But for myself and many others, we believe that anything dealing with a Big Bang is being blown up or destroyed by an explosion as seen below. Nothing can come from this. What you see here was a planet that exploded, and it became space dust to be reused by the Creator, to be explained later, and a bomb exploding on the Earth. So logically, when you think about it, this is the only Big Bang that we know about, something being blown up, the one of destruction, and not of creation. Look at the visuals above. No life would exist or begin after either event. To be honest, why would something deep in space blow up and start creating life? Now let's define the word creation and what it means. Dictionary definitions from Oxford Languages. Learn more. Creation. Creation. 1. The action or process of bringing something into existence. See that. So if creation is the act of bringing something into existence, what are we looking at above? A Big Bang can't bring anything into existence, but it can destroy. As stated in the beginning of this topic, we will be taking a journey through what we call creation and getting to the truth and getting away from the biblical myth of creation, the science of it all. Creation is somewhat like cooking. You have to have the right ingredients to create your perfect dish. You open your spice cabinet and there you have everything you need to perfect your dish. Same applies to the universe. When Master Chef goes in to create, everything needed is there. When in school, we had the periodic tables with all the Earth's minerals listed. Ever think of where those minerals come from? Well, that's a very easy question to answer from our solar system. Some will say, yeah, right. You don't know what you're talking about. I enjoy a good challenge, so nothing better than to show periodic table of elements, the pillars of creation. Now, looking at these two photographs, one would ask, what does the periodic table have to do with a space dust cloud? I then would say, that's not a cloud, that's your periodic table in its raw form. Everything on that periodic chart is in that so-called cloud. It's called Agi, and nebula. Without these three elements, nothing would be here today. This is the essence of creation. Within this cloud is nickel, iron, magnesium, sulfur, helium, and so on. The main ingredients for creating life is here in its raw form. From the Owaspi Book of Jehovah 6:5 states 5, Behold, O man, as a farmer soweth corn in one place, and wheat in another, and roots in another, and flax, everything in a separate place. Even so doth Jehovah store the ingredients of which worlds are made, everything in its place. The substance of the iron in one place, the substance of the stones in another, the substance of the vegetable kingdom in another, and even so of the substance of the animal kingdom, and the oils and sand. For he hath places in the firmament of heaven for all of them. These that thou sawest are the Agi, and the Gi, and the nebulae, and amidst them in places there is Simu also. Let no man say, yonder is hydrogen only, and yonder oxygen only. The divisions of the substances of his creations are not as man would make them. All the elements are to be found not only in places near at hand, but in distant places also. So as you can see, creation is much more than just saying in the beginning, God created heaven and earth, as the Bible states. But how? You can objectively see what I'm showing you, and it makes way more sense believing this rather than the story of the Bible. The Bible story never explains anything about creation or how it's done. Not like this. Teaching us about ingredients used to create a universe, teaching you about a systematic order of creation. This is real science, real chemistry, not some fake creation story of a God sitting on a throne creating worlds. This is a false story by false gods. But we will soon shut the door on that falsehood. Now let's move on now. In creation, You have a lot of different things going on, and one of the things that is going on is motion, vibration, sound frequencies. All these play a part in creation. Here's a verse from the King James Bible, the book of John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now, if you don't have a problem with this verse, how can you say you have a problem with the one below? The only difference is the one below explains what that speech is. It's all motion. Book of Jehovah Wonder 1 states 1. All was, all is, all ever shall be. The all spake, and motion was, and is, and ever shall be, and being positive was called he and him. The all motion was his speech. So as you see in the verse above, there was motion which would cause movement, vibrations, or sound frequencies in our solar system. Let's take a look at different sound frequencies, and you can see the universal order all in the same motion. You see that. Everything in, on, or out of this planet's orbits operates by the same principles on waves, or motion. This is the key to creation. The motion, you see that right here, from visible light to electromagnetic, all in waves. Nothing is in a straight line, as they say. It's all in waves. Now, behind the waves or motion, there is power. Power is needed for condensing substances together. Bonding process, one could say. And this is where physics come into play. Rotating power, or as it's called in physics, fluid dynamics. In physics, physical chemistry, and engineering, fluid dynamics is a subdiscipline of fluid mechanics that describes the flow of fluids, liquids, and gases. Pressure is the basis for producing work in fluid power and is defined as the force acting perpendicular to a unit area. Fluid pressure force is the force a fluid exerts over a certain area, perpendicular to any surface it encounters. It is equally distributed in all directions within the fluid and has the same pressure in all directions at any specific depth or height. The more force you give, the more power you get, just like a whirlwind. So again, I'm showing you how creation works. It's a process and not just a spoken word, as stated in the King James Bible. When God created the heavens and the earth, there's a lot more in the process of creation that's not told in the Bible. But the WASP makes it clear there's a systematic process that takes place and not some big bang theory. And in order to understand that, you have to know the function of creation. Life is very sensitive, meaning if the conditions for creation aren't stable or balanced, nothing would survive. In order for something to exist or survive on a planet, the conditions of that planet have to be perfect. So to say, just as we have the 4 seasons on Earth, the same principles exist in our solar system, but they are called Gadol cycles, which are broken down into 2 half cycles of 72,000 years, and it runs a full cycle of 144,000 years long. And the conditions within that cycle determine if it could support life, which is called Gadol degrees. This is the temperature of the Earth. Spring, summer, fall, winter, 144. O-wire, 144, 1,000 words, 144 hours, 144. O-wires equal 576,000 words, a full Earth cycle. It's basically the same in the solar system. We have the 4 cycles of creation, time of inhabitation, time of barrenness, time of dissolution. Then the cycle starts over with the space dust, known as Agi, Agi, and nebulae. See this right here. I'm showing you a systematic cycle of creation from beginning to end and the materials to start a new created world again with the space dust. This is a continuous process. You have 4 cycles of 144,000 years equal 576,000 years, equals the total lifespan of 1 garden or 1 earth. Then all life die and the process starts again. You see, no Bible talks about this, but the OWASP does. And it gives you a timeline to go by. Not a story of a Big Bang theory. There's nothing blowing up coming into existence here. And there's no God sitting on a throne doing this, as the Hebrew Bible has us believing. And you see, the 144,000 is not what the Bible teaches, that the number is the number of the redeemed from the earth at the return of Jesus, as stated in the book of Revelations. But that's all wrong. It has nothing to do with the redeemed. It's associated with Earth's Gadol cycles, as stated earlier. Now let's move on. As stated earlier, the conditions have to be right on the planet in order for life to grow and survive. And this goes right back to science using what we call the pH scale. This is the balance of all things, the pH scale. Now looking at this scale, we can see the different colors and numbers and the titles they are under. Now some may ask, what is this? And what does it have to do with creation? Well, let me tell you, it has a lot to do with creation. It played a big part in the Carboniferous period of the Earth. If not for this scale and its measurements that teach us safe zones of life for the Earth, humans, vegetation, and animals, or we would not be able to survive on this planet. Meaning all vegetation, water supplies like lakes, rivers, and oceans would all be too toxic for any animal or humans to survive. And it would also be too hot on the planet as well. So the scale teaches balance, and it shows in visible color the safe zones for humans and animals to survive on a planet. So there's a waiting period before any life can be sustainable on a planet. It's very simple. The more acidic the body is, or the planet, the more sickness and barrenness there is. The more alkalinity the body has, the healthier the body is, or the planet, the more enlightenment and fruitfulness there is. This is achieved by having an equal balance of ingredients, so to say. Let's take a look at our H scale above the red area. This is not a good area. This is the beginning of creation, where the temperature and air quality is too toxic to breathe because the sulfur and radiation levels are too high. So the Earth is too acidic for life. But as you move down to the greenish area, let's say between 5 and 6, still humans and some animal life cannot survive, but some reptiles were able to survive the Gatto temperature, which is Earth's heat. Now, in order for the Earth to sustain life, it has to be a Gatto degree of 98, as stated in the OSPI Bible. OSPI Book of Cosmology and Prophecy 5:19 states, 19. To find the Samoan age, especially of man, place his temperature at 98 for good health and 102 at inflammation or death. 4 below normal will, therefore, be the period of man's inhabitation of the earth. After the Vortexian radiation reacheth this period, man will cease to propagate and so become extinct as to the earth. You see on the scale, the green section around number 7 and above is good for all life to survive on the planet. During the beginning stages of a planet's creation, as stated the Carboniferous period, the air and vegetation of the earth is very toxic to consume by humans and animals due to the high concentration of sulfur and other poisonous gases and chemicals in the atmosphere. Once this process settles, the atmosphere has enough moisture and is more stable to hold a balanced pH level because of the alkaline that produced in the atmosphere during the beginning of the creation process. This is the interactions of the protons, neutrons, and electrons in the atmosphere producing hydrogen, oxygen, and other atmospheric elements to balance the Earth's natural internal temperature. Now let's take a look at the OSPI Bible and see what the true Creator says about this period of Earth's creation. The Carboniferous period. OSPI Bible, Book of Inspiration 34:6.9. When the earth was encircled with poisonous gases, I created poisonous vines, weeds, trees, and all kinds of herbs growing profusely upon the earth. 34:6.10. In that way, I created the vegetable world from destroying gases and from earth substance. And in that day, all growing things upon the earth which I had created were poisonous to animal life. 34:6.11. Then I created the serpents, of all sizes I created them, and they were poison also. 34:6.12. And the serpents I created were carnivorous, feeding upon one another. Self-impregnating I created them. 34:6.13. Thus I drove the poison of the air down into vegetation, and from there into the animal world. Thus I purified the air of heaven. 34:6.14. This was the first creation I created on this world. 34:6.15. Then I overcast the earth with falling nebulae, and covered up the poisons growing upon the earth, and they were turned to oil and coal. 34:6.16. Then I made a new creation, the second creation, giving feet, legs, and bones to the animals I designed for the earth. 34:6.17. And when the earth was ripe for man, then I created him. Male and female, I created those of the second creation. Now that we have some understanding of what takes place during the creation process, we can move on. And we also learned a little something about man as well. We learned that man wasn't the first living thing created on the earth. He was the second creation. But let's go in a little deeper. Let's take a look at the biblical stories and God of creation, and we'll compare them to the OSPI Bible and see which one has a more sound, realistic, and informative approach on the subject of creation. Hand of the Creator. For many years we have all heard or read about the stories of the creation of the earth and heaven as written in the Bible and throughout many other cultures and civilizations around the world. And it's very strange that they all have this 7-day creation story, but none of them could explain how it all happened. Now, if you really think about it, you'll ask yourself, how can all this be done in 7 days? God created the heavens and the earth and everything on it in 7 days. Now, the question is how? Something that has lingered in the back of my mind since I was a child. In my understanding of who and what God is looking at the image of God that was presented to me as a child, the image of Jesus, but something inside of me felt like I was doing something wrong. I started questioning myself about God, asking myself, am I serving him the right way? And the main question was, am I serving the right God? I remember as a kid growing up, and I would hear my dad say from time to time that he was God of the castle, meaning our home, but that was confusing to me. How can dad be God? This was the problem I had with the Bible, the word God. So I started looking for information on God. Who is he? Can I talk to him? What does he look like? All these questions were heavy on my mind at such a young age, but I needed to find the truth because I knew as a child that the image on the wall didn't and couldn't create a world or anything in it. Because he is a man, just like my dad, who called himself God of the house. So I began looking into the word God. Let us define the word God and see what it says and who God really is. God equals transliteration. Elohim, we see the word Elohim. This word is plural, meaning many, not just one. Pronunciation Elohim. Part of speech, masculine noun, root word, etymology. Plural of Elua, dictionary AIDS 2T reference, 93C. KJV translation count, total 2,606. The KJV translates Strong's H430 in the following manner. God, 2,346. God, 244x. Judge, 5x. God, 1x. Goddess, 2x. Great, 2x. Mighty, 2x. Angels, exceeding. Godward, with H4136, 1x. Godly, 1x. Outline of biblical usage. And we see here that to be a God is a dual position as well. Man or woman can hold the title of God. Man can be all of the above. Man can be a judge. Man can be God, women goddess. These are nothing more than titles given to angels who were once mortals and died, and has crossed over to the spiritual world to rule a kingdom earth and her heavens. And the people of earth in the name of the Creator, but stole the rights to call themselves gods, plural, rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods, plural intensive, God, goddess, godlike one works or special possessions of God, the true God, God. So we see that the word God is associated with the Elohim, which shows its plural meaning more than one. And you see here that God can be a man or a woman. Man or woman can have any of these attributes, which are titles that the Creator bestows upon mortals when they cross over and they have been raised to a spiritual level to earn the rank or title to be called a God in his name. Now let's look at the same word in its plural form, Eloha. Do you see the word plural simply refers equals God instead of gods, as you can see pronunciation, Eloah. Part of speech, masculine noun, root word, etymology, probably prolonged, emphet, from 410, dictionary 893b KJV translation count, total 57x. The KJV translates Strong's H433 in the following manner. God 52x, God 5x. Outline of biblical usage. God, false God, Strong's definitions legend. Elua, Eloah, rarely shortened. Eloah, probably prolonged, from H410, a deity or the deity. God, God. See H430. You see here the word Eloah and what it's associated with, false God, deity. And that's what we are worshiping, false gods and deities, and not the Creator. This is the God of the Hebrew Bible right here. This is the God El, the God of Israel. You see, he's a man. But to most of us who are Christians, this is your God, a man on a throne. But we were created in his image, right? But they teach us that God is a spirit. So how can a spirit have an image? So let's see what the word image means. Image was transliteration, selim, pronunciation, say, limb, part of speech, masculine noun, root word, etymology, from an unused root meaning to shade. Dictionary AIDS top reference, 1933, a KJV translation count. Total, 17x. The KJV translates Strong's H6754 in the following manner. Image, 16x. Vain shoe, 1x. Outline of biblical usage. Image, images of tumors, mice, heathen gods. Image, likeness of resemblance. Mere empty. Image, semblance. Strong's definitions legend. Tselem, selem, selem, from an unused root meaning to shade, a phantom, i.e., figuratively illusion, resemblance, hence a representative figure, especially an idol, image. So we see here the word God is associated with false gods, heathen gods, idols, and the god Il. And why is heathen gods there? You see that's something to think about right there. I'm just showing you what these words we use mean when we're talking about creation and God. You see the word God is associated with man and not the creator. Now let's get into finding out who the real creator is. So let's take a look at the word all and see what it states. This is one of the creator's names, and I believe it is the first name he is to be called by. All else transliteration kol, pronunciation, part of speech, masculine noun, root word, etymology. From Kel, H634, Dictionary, Aids to Reference, 985 AJV translation count, total 25x. The KJV translates H3605 in the following manner. Everything, all, whosoever, whatsoever, nothing yet. Outline of biblical usage. All, the whole of any, each, every, anything, totality, everything. Strong's definitions legend. Kol, koli, or Jeremiah 33:8, kol, from H64, properly, the whole. Hence, all, any, or every, in the singular only, but often in a plural sense. In all, altogether, anyner, enough, every, one, place, thing, howsoever, as many as thing ought, whatsoever, the whole, whosoever. Now we see the true creator is all, and what does that mean? It means the total of everything, the whole. Ain't no Bible God coming close to that. None. Now that we have that cleared up, we see the difference between God and what the creator is. He's not a man on a throne sitting out in space somewhere creating worlds. Let's move on to comparing the text to find out how creation really began and the system of creation. We will start by looking at the King James Bible, Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:3. Gen 1:1, in the beginning God created heaven and the earth. Gen 1:3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. The question now would be how? How did he create it? The Bible doesn't make it clear. Nothing about the creation story is made clear in the Bible. The reader has this feeling that there's magical and mystical events that are taking place, and it really can't be explained, but it's all being done by God sitting in heaven on his throne. Now let's take a look and see what the OSB says. Book of Jehovah 1:1:1. All was, all is, all ever shall be. The El spake, and motion was and is and ever shall be, and being positive was called he and him. The all motion was his speech. What does it say? Let's read it again. All was, all is, all ever shall be. Right here, the creator is letting you know in the first verse who he is. The all, he's past, present, and future. Then he makes another statement. The all spoke, and motion was. Let's go back for a moment. Remember earlier in this topic, I spoke about sound waves in motion. This is what starts creation. Let's move on to the next statement. And being positive was called he in him. We are not talking about a man here. It's talking about motion. The he in him is reference to the motion. It's a positive force. In creation, we have duality, positive and negative effects. This is how worlds are created. Book of Jehovah 3:3-4:3. The whirlwind made I as a sign to man of the manner of my created worlds. As thou beholdest the power of the whirlwind, gathering up the dust of the earth and driving it together, know that even so do I bring together the Agi and Gia and Nebulae in the firmament of heaven. By the power of the whirlwind create I the corporeal suns and moons and stars. 4. By the power of rotation, swift driving forth in the extreme parts, condense I the atmosphere and worlds that float in the firmament, and these become my corporeal worlds. In the midst of the vortices made I them, and by the power of the vortices I turn them on their axes and carry them in the orbits I allotted to them. Wider than to the moons of a planet have I created the vortices, and they carry the moons also. So as stated, there's a real process to creation, not some man on a throne. The Creator says, Book of Jehovah 3:6-7, for each and every corporeal world created, I a vortex first, and by its rotation, and by the places in the firmament whither it traveleth, caused I the vortex to conceive the corporeal world. 7. A great vortex created I for the sun, and within this vortex and subject to it, made I the vortices of many of the corporeal worlds. The sun vortex I caused to rotate, and I gave it power to carry other vortices within it. According to their density and position are they thus carried forth and around about the sun. The same principles apply to all the stars, suns, planets, and moons, differing in manifestation on account of size, motion, density, and relative place. So you see, that creation is a process, not just a spoken word from a God sitting on a throne. I don't see no man on a throne here. It's false. As stated, it's a systematic process to creation and stages of creation that a planet goes through before it can become habitable. Book of Hosea 4:14, 17, 14. Open thy eyes, O man. There is a time of childhood, a time of Genesis, a time of old age, and a time of death to all men. Even so is it with all the corporeal worlds I have created. 15. First as vapor the vortex carrieth it forth, and as it condenseth, its friction engendereth heat, and it is molten, becoming as a globe of fire in heaven. Then it taketh its place as a newborn world, and I set it in the orbit prepared for it. 16. In the next age I bring it into Samu, for it is ripe for the bringing forth of living creatures, and I bestow the vegetable and animal kingdoms. 17. Next it entereth Hotu, for it is past the age of begetting, even as the living who are in dotage. Next it entereth Adu, and nothing can generate upon it. Then cometh Uz, and it is spirited away into unseen realms. Thus create I, and thus dissipate planets, suns, moons, and stars. As a testimony to man, behold, the earth was once a globe of liquid fire, nor was there any seed thereon. But in due season I rained down sinew on the earth, and by virtue of my presence quickened I into life all the living. Semihotu Adu, spring, summer, fall, winter. You have the 4 planetary cycles, which are 144,000 years long. Each equals 576,000 years equals 1 garden. And the 4 earthly seasons, which are 3 months long. Each equals 12 months equals 1 year. So we see that creation is much more than what the Bible has us believing, that a man sitting on a throne in space did this. Impossible. There's a great big lie that we must clarify, and it's with the false doctrines and religion systems we serve. They have us in the palm of their hands, feeding us with misleading doctrines and information that's keeping us blind to truth and not knowing who the true creator is and the true message for our salvation. Now, we just took a grand trip through creation and found it's more to what the biblical stories have to offer. The Bible is not teaching this. This is real science, physics, and chemistry. This is real knowledge. This is what the creator looks like. See the galaxies, the vortices. This is the all. This is the creator. Do you see a throne anywhere? No. You see space-time continuum. Let's look at the OSP Bible and find out who the all is. Book of the Ark of Bond 9, 12, 13, 12. Who is Jehovah? 13. The ever-present. He filleth all place and space. Behold, I am the ever-present, and not in the figure or image of a man, but I am the all space and place, doing my will through my angels and through the souls of men. You see, ever-present, all place and space. I don't see these gods, Egyptian sun god Atum or the biblical god El up there, sitting in space on a throne. I see idols of false gods, men, who are claiming to be the creator. Look at that visual above. There's no way you can look at it and say that creation started here or there. You can't pick a spot and say it started here. There is no beginning or ending to creation. None. But there's a function to creation, and once you understand that function, you'll be able to comprehend the works of the Creator. What you see above is continuous, never-ending, space-time continuum. That's the true Creator, what we are seeing above. The Creator manifests himself and shows you who he is through his objective signs and his creations, all in one universal order. As above, so below. So as stated, nothing would come into existence without the vortex. The sun would not be there if it didn't have the vortex, and the earth as well. You see, the vortex is what sparks life. Here let's see where the earth is in the vortex. Book Cosmology and Prophecy 10:1-3-2. The earth floateth in the midst of a vortex, the outer extremity of which is somewhat beyond the moon. The vortex is globular, corresponding to the form of the earth, with slight differences, which will be pointed out hereafter. Vortices are not all closed at the ends. Some are open at both ends. 3. The vortex turneth the earth on its axis, with its own axial motion. Consequently, the outer part of the vortex hath greater velocity than near the earth's surface, which hath an axial motion of 1,000 miles an hour. See that there is no way you can tell me the God of the Bible is doing this from a chair. That's all a throne is and manifesting all of this. If I believe that, then something is wrong with me. I showed you what the word God means, what associated with the word God, and what the all is. I've explained the physics, the science, and the chemistry it takes to create life and planets. I didn't give you a deified concept of creation. I gave you facts. Look, here's your biblical false gods, right here. Jesus, Yahweh, El Baal. These are the gods of the Bible, the Tanakh, and the Torah that you believe is the creator who created the heavens and the earth, but keeping you in the dark to the knowledge of the true creator and his wonderful works. For mortals to understand and grow spiritually in the truth of knowing the true creator and his plans for man after death, not to be spiritual dead and enslaved by these false gods who's been feeding lies from the beginning. As stated, you got the facts here with spatial learning, which is, as well as textual. The Bible is not teaching this because it's a false doctrine and a false creation story coming from false gods who gave you an image to worship. True creator don't have an image. Book of the Ark of Bond 423. Behold, I am the ever-present, and not in the figure or image of a man, but I am the all space and place, doing my will through my angels and through the souls of men. You see that? Forever present, always there. As stated, the all-spoken motion was Bay. That's the key to creation, motion. And how does that motion start? With speech. Book of Jehovah 1:1 states, verse 1, all was, all is, all ever shall be. The all spake, and motion was and is and ever shall be. And being positive was called he and him. The all motion was his speech. Book of Divinity 1:8 states 8. Jehovah said, I blow my breath outward, and behold, all things are created. They go away in disorder, but they come back to me orderly and in organic companies. And every individual member is like a tree, bloomed in perfection in every branch. Looking at the chart below, we can get some kind of an idea of what the Creator does when creating a planet. Book of Jehovah 4:15-15. First as vapor, cloud, the vortex carrieth it forth, and as it condenseth, its friction engendereth heat, and it is molten, becoming as a globe of fire in heaven. Then it taketh its place as a newborn world, and I set it in the orbit prepared for it. Creation process of a planet. The chart below shows the process it takes to create a world. Let's go back to verse 8 above. The Creator says, I blow my breath outward, and behold, all things are created. Now you show me anywhere in the King James Bible or any Bible where it's teaching you this kind of information. There isn't a doctrine anywhere that can stand against the Owaspi and the information it's giving to mortals, exposing the false gods and their doctrines. The Owaspi is giving truth. There is proof of life after death and the inheritance of heavenly kingdoms that awaits you after death. The Owaspi is giving you the knowledge of the lower heavens and the Etherian kingdoms, ranks and titles of angels. No other book is doing this, none whatsoever. And still you can't say your God of the Bible is doing this, creating galaxies out of nothing and giving this kind of information to humans. None. Now, there's one more myth I would like to expose and bring the falsehood of it to the forefront and shed some light on a very misleading subject. This is one of the most unbelievable stories from the Hebrew Bible, or to say the King James Version of the Bible, that I've ever heard. And that's the faked out false story about the serpent in the Garden of Eden. I remember when I was a beginner at reading the Bible, and when I got to the part of the story where Eve and the serpent were having a conversation, I had to stop and think about what I just read. And the first thing that came to my mind was, snakes can't talk, right? Then the question I had followed, why would God give a snake a larynx? That didn't make any sense to me at all back then, and it sure doesn't make any sense today. How could an intelligent and wise civilization of people as we are believe in what sounds like a children's bedtime story with a talking snake, and who later turns out to be called Satan, that old serpent? And a lot of Christians consider this to be a factual story. Now come on, people, let's not cast our own selves to wolves. We must think about this seriously. We just can't believe anything that's put forth, and we jump at it. We must investigate it from all sides and all angles before we can say it's an actual fact. Once we've done that, then we can believe it, because the investigation has been done and proved it to be fact. If snakes talk back then, they should be able to talk to us today. Now let's move on to exposing the serpent of the Bible and find the true serpent that we should be talking about. Book of Sappha. Osiris 158 states, Jehovah said, "The sun I made as the head of a serpent, and his phalanx made I as the body of a serpent. Thus made I the great corporeal serpent." So we see here that the serpent has nothing to do with Adam and Eve in some garden. It's saying here that the serpent is our solar system. Book of Cosmology and Prophecy 133 states 33. The Earth's vortex is a subvortex existing within the sun's vortex. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and so on are corporeal worlds, and each and all of them within subvortices, and the combination of all these vortices within the sun's vortex are known by the names Great Serpent or Solar Phalanx. So there you go, the truth about the serpent, not some talking snake in the Garden of Eden. Here, take a look below. This is the solar system. Everything is in waves as stated. Do you see the similarities in the movements? Our solar system moves like a serpent left to right or east to west. You that? As stated, this is real. You can see this in motion real time. This ain't something made up. You know, this is the hand of the Creator and not some man sitting on a throne. Where is he? I haven't seen him yet. All I see is the hand of the Creator here. This is an actual photograph of the sunrise, a 24-month cycle. See the snake-like pattern left to right. Notice the house. It's in the center. Here's your serpent. Real time. True knowledge we got here. We took a real journey through creation and beyond. We walked through science, chemistry, and physics, learned the truth about the serpent, and most of all, exposing the false gods of the Bible and their creation story. We learned how planets are made and formed, and we doing that all by the hand of the Creator. Book of Bond 10, 120 states 1. God said, "Here is wisdom, O man, to be observant of all things and adapt thyself thereto on Jehovah's side. 2. To obtain great learning that applieth to the resurrection of thy soul in comprehending the works of the Almighty. 3. To suffer not thyself to be conceited in the wisdom of the moderns over the ancients, nor of the ancients over the moderns. For the Creator created man wisely for the time of the world in which man was created. 5. Thou art for this era, and not for the past. 6. The ancients were for the past era, and not for the present. 7. To know the present, to be up with the signs of the times, this it is, to see Jehovah's hand. 8. Make not a god of riches, nor of thy supposed sciences and learning. 9. For in the time thou seest men doing these things, behold, that is the time of a cyclic coil in the great beast. 10. Thy God and thy Savior shall surely be swept away. 11. Make Jehovah, the Creator, the idol of thy soul, neither setting up this or that as impossible. 12. Opening up thy understanding to find the tree of light and righteousness of soul. 13. Admitting that all things are possible in Jehovah's hands, for then thy God shall surely not be swept away. 15. Look about thee, O man, and learn from the sons and daughters of Jehovah the march of the Almighty's kingdoms. 6. Who shall make a system or a philosophy like Jehovah? What hast thou found that is infallible? 17. The truth of yesterday is not a truth today. The truth of yesterday is the truth today. 8. Thou shalt come to understand even this. 19. To learn how to live, to rejoice, and to do good, and make thy neighbor rejoice also. This is wisdom. 20. Let these be thy loves and the glory of thy speech, and thou shalt learn to prophesy concerning the ways of Jehovah. Book of Bond 1, 16 states 16. Jehovah said, Think not that the vault of the firmament is nothing, for thither have I created ethereal worlds of sizes equal to the corporeal worlds, but they are independent of them. These are my kingdoms, prepared for the spirits of men and women and children, whom I bring forth into life on corpore. Nor are my ethereal worlds alike in density or motion, but of different consistencies, that they may be suitable for the varied advancement of my children. You see that the plan for us all is to rise and advance in the heavens, not to suffer and burn eternally as the Bible has it. The true Creator wants us to know all about Him and His works by His hands, by the hand of the Creator. And with that I shall leave you with Shalom. NRN3, Seem Noon.